So we are exploring during the month of November the theme of the gifts of generosity. So I'm curious, what comes to mind for you when you hear the word generosity? What does that mean to you? Niels? Being kind and helping other people who need help. Yeah, I saw a hand over here. Somebody else have an idea? Yeah, in the back. Giving without expecting anything back. Yeah. One more thought about what we mean. Charlie, what do we mean when we say generosity? I'll call you on you again, Charlie, if you figure out. Oh, but gender is a good thing to talk about, Charlie. And we'll be talking about that. We're just not talking about that right now. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Another thought about what you think of when you hear the word generosity. Haley. Oh, to give without fear of not having enough. Those are all beautiful ways of describing generosity. Yeah, generosity. And I know that this congregation has a deep understanding of generosity because as a congregation, we are very generous. Our combined efforts help make things possible far beyond what any one of us could do alone. So when you think of our congregation's generosity, what are some of the things that come to mind for you? How are we generous? Soup kitchen, Pacham, popcorn, meal packets, food pantry, giving tree, CareNet, social action. So when you think about our congregation, when you're out walking in your neighborhood and you think about church, do you think, wow, we're a generous place? Do you think that? I encourage you to think that. Yes, we are a generous place, and it is all of us together that create that generosity that's so much larger than what any one of us can do alone. We are a congregation of generosity. So I'm going to ask you some questions. I'm not going to have you answer them now, but they're questions I'd like you to think about and maybe talk about with friends and family in the coming days. So my first question for you is, who taught you or modeled for you what it means to be generous and how to live generously? So that's a question to tuck into your pocket. Who taught you about generosity and how to live generously? It might have been the people in your house. It might have been the kindness of a stranger. It might have been your ancestors. It might have been your faith community. Maybe it was all of these things and more. So if you're like me, you are still learning all the time what it means to live generously. Our Unitarian Universalist faith has a message for us about how to live as generous souls. It teaches us to have compassion for others, and it stresses the unity of our human family in all of its diversity. The unity in our human family in all of its diversity. So I want you to think for a minute about the last time you were on the receiving end of someone else's generosity. And I mean generosity in the broadest sense. Generosity of time, generosity of energy, other resources, including money, or whatever ways you identify generosity based on your own cultural understandings. So when was the last time you were on the receiving end of generosity? It's good to notice that. It's good to pay attention to that. It's good to be aware of when we are both being generous and when others are being generous with us. As we know, generosity is experienced by people differently in many countries and communities and cultures around our world. And so it's interesting to pay attention to when somebody might be acting in a generous way towards you and you might miss it. You might not notice it. You might not be aware. So it's that call to pay attention, to notice. And now I invite you to ask yourself, without judgment, when was the last time you were generous? With that same expansive understanding of what is meant by generosity. It could be a very small gesture, holding a door open for someone, moving over in a pew to make room for another. When was the last time that you were aware that you were choosing to be generous? I invite us all in the coming days and weeks to think about how you can live your UU faith by living generously. So I'm going to shift the wording a little bit and ask you to think about, what do we mean when we use the word gratitude? What is gratitude? I see a hand in the back. Gratitude is an attitude. Yes, it is. It is. Yeah. So let's unpack that a little bit. What do we mean by gratitude? Let's see if we have somebody who hasn't had a chance to share yet. Zoe. Being thankful. Yeah, that's right. Gratitude, being aware of something that we're feeling thankful about. Anybody want to add another definition to that? Corinne. So it really is just about what's going on with you. It doesn't matter if other people don't have thankfulness or gratitude. It's a thing that you're feeling inside yourself of thankfulness. Yeah, those are very, very helpful answers. So I'm curious and would like to have you all reflect on, what are some of the ways you or your family express gratitude? How do you embody gratitude? Any grown-ups want to share? How do you embody gratitude? How do you live gratitude? Christine.
At dinner each night, we light a chalice and we share something that we're thankful for that day.
So in Christine's family at night at dinner, they light a chalice and everybody at the table shares something that they're thankful for that day. Yeah. It's a lovely way to express gratitude. Did you know that your church board writes gratitude letters to people? At the board meetings, they lift up names of people in the congregation they want to thank, and they send out thank you notes of gratitude. I bet a lot of you have received those notes. And if you haven't, you can come talk to me and I'll whisper in their ear that you can play. Other ways that you express gratitude. Yeah. You try to pass along what you've been given. Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else? Sending thank you cards. That's right. Saying thank you. That's a lovely way to express gratitude. Noah. An act of kindness can be a way to express gratitude. Yeah, it goes a long way. You're right. Yeah. Deborah. So simply by greeting people, acknowledging them. Yeah. Noticing people is an act of gratitude. Yeah. Yeah. Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, these two are good conversations to have around your table in the coming days, inviting people to reflect on how they express gratitude, how gratitude shows up in our lives. So I want to share with you that we have some special books on our altar this morning. They are different books of prayers and graces, just a few samples of the many that are out there. And I agree that taking the time to be thankful with intention is a lovely spiritual practice. And similar to Christine's family, in my family, we also light a chalice at dinner time every night, and we say a grace. Now, actually, I usually say the grace because I can't get anybody else in my family to say it. So I hope that you will have more luck sharing that practice with other members of your family. My family participates, but they just always give it to me to say. So here's a version of what I often say at dinner. It changes every night, doesn't have to be the same, and it can reflect what you've experienced in your day and also what is going on in the wider world. So I usually say something like this: for this food before us, for this time together gathered around our table, may we be mindful and grateful. May this meal, lovingly prepared by so many hands, nourish and strengthen our bodies and spirits. For the beauty that surrounds us, the changing of the seasons, the bird song, the night sky, may we notice and be mindful and grateful. Wherever there is suffering, may we offer compassion. May those who are hurting find relief. And may we all feel held by the larger love that holds us all and never lets us go. Amen, and blessed be. So that's one example. And I invite you to take it and use it in whatever way might work for you. And I have another invitation for you. You might have noticed in your pews that there are these wonderful yellow packets. And we have some members of our congregation who have decided it would be a lovely idea for us as a congregation to create a book called Words of Thanks. So we are soliciting from everybody your contributions to go into this book that we will make of all the ways that we offer words of thanks. So you'll be hearing more about this. If you want to have more information, you can talk with Jude Bias or you can talk with Sandy Brooks, and they will give you more information about how you can engage and participate. But we want everybody of all ages, of all understandings of the sacred, to contribute to this book that we will share with one another as a way that we will contribute more thanks and gratitude into the world. You may be familiar with the quote by Christian mystic Meister Eckhart: if the only prayer you ever offer is thank you, then that will be enough. So as we go about our days and ways in the coming weeks, may thank you come from our lips again and again.